Hello class. So let's go over this test review. Okay, so I'm going to work each question so that you can kind of see what it is I'm expecting out of you. So in this first one, you've got 10x plus 5 equals 35. Well, out of those three steps that we have, letters on one side, numbers on the other, solve, the letters are already done for you. Okay, so all I need to do is get this 5 over to the 35 side. And we do that by adding the opposite. So 10x plus 5 plus negative 5 equals 35 plus the negative 5. Whatever I added to one side, I got to add it to the other. So I end up with 10x is equal to, and then 35 plus negative 5 gives me 30. And now in order to finish this out, I don't want to know about 10x, I want to know about 1x. So I divide both sides by 10, and I end up with x is equal to 3. Now you can plug that back into the original equation to see if it works by just typing in 10 times 3, which is what I think the x value is, plus 5 equals, and you'll notice that my answer is 35, which is exactly what I'm supposed to get. Okay, now number 2, what I would do in this one is I'm going to change subtraction to addition first next to its opposite, and then I'm going to move the negative 9 over to be with the 15. So 6a plus negative 9 plus 9 equals 15 plus 9. So 6a equals, and if you need to, you type in 15 plus 9 equals. Don't be afraid to do that. And you get 24. And now I need to divide both sides by 6, and a is equal to, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. And again, we plug this back in, 6 times 4 plus negative 9. Enter, we get 15, and sure enough it is. So that means that that is the correct answer. Now number 3, we talk about division, okay? So we'll get to that in just a second. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my subtraction to addition, 13 to a negative, and then I move the 13 to the other side. So d over 5 plus negative 13 plus 13 equals 3 plus 13. So d over 5 is equal to 16. Now to get rid of a divide by 5, this divide by right here, I'm going to do a multiply by. And the way you show that is times 5 times 5. So now my 5's divide out, and I'm left with d is equal to, and then we do 16 times 5, and we find out that our value is 80. Now to check one of these kind of problems, you'll plug it back into this d right here, and you do 80 divided by 5 plus negative 13, and we hit enter, and you'll notice that the value is 3, so it does work. Okay, now this 1/4 w, well, the way we interpret that is just w over 4, so it's a divide by 4. So to get rid of that, you just multiply by its reciprocal. Okay, so we'll start with getting the 7 over to the other side. So 1/4 w plus 7 plus negative 7 equals negative 4 plus negative 7. So we end up with 1/4 w is equal to, because my 7's go away, and then negative 4 and negative 7. So negative 4 plus negative 7 equals negative 11. Now to get rid of a 1/4 w, we multiply by its reciprocal, which is 4 over 1, okay, which is just multiply by 4. And you end up with w is equal to negative 44. Okay, so we could plug that back in, negative 44, and I told you that 1/4 w is just w divided by 4 plus 7 equals, and you find out that your answer is negative 4. So that's how you do the first 4 questions. Now we move to some multi-step questions. So this is where we got to actually use all 3 parts. Okay, so I'm going to change my subtraction to addition. I'm now going to move my 4b over to be with the 8b. So I start at the equal sign. 4b plus negative 4b plus negative 18. So then 8b plus 2 plus, and then I add the negative 4b, which is what I added on the other side. Okay, and I end up with 4b plus 2 equals, my 4b's go away, and I'm left with negative 18. Okay, now this question is just like one of the ones that we just worked right here. Okay, so now we move the 2 over to the other side. So 4b plus 2 plus negative 2 equals negative 18 plus negative 2. So 4b equals, and then negative 18 plus negative 2 gives me negative 20. So I divide by 4, and b is equal to, and negative 20 divided by 4 gives me negative 5. And again, you could plug that back in to check it, and the way we check one of these is you're going to do 8 times negative 5 plus 2, and you're going to do 4 times negative 5 plus negative 18, and see if those two answers are equal. So 8 times negative 5 plus 2 equals, and then 4 times negative 5 plus negative 18, and you find out that both values are equal to negative 38. So that tells me that negative 5 is the correct answer. Now, number 6, I've got some w's that I can put together. So the 2w and the 5w on the right-hand side can go together. So I end up with 7w plus 6 equals, and then 2w and 5w make 7w plus 7. Okay, so I automatically know something strange is going to happen here. Okay, so 7w plus negative 7w plus 7. 7w plus 6 plus negative 7w. So my 7w's on the left go away, and I'm left with 6. My 7w's on the right go away, and I'm left with 7. And we know that 6 does not equal 7. So we put a slash through the equal sign, and we say no solution. Just like that. Okay, number 7. Again, I see some minus here, so I'm going to change that. Okay, now I notice that I've got a negative 8 and a 4 that can go together. Okay, so I've got 8h plus negative 4, because negative 8 plus 4 gives me negative 4, equals. Now, I like my letters to go first, so I'm going to take this 8h right here, and because it's plus, I can rearrange it. I'm going to make it 8h plus negative 4, and now you'll notice that they're exactly the same. Okay, so I start over here on this side, 8h plus negative 8h plus negative 4, 8h plus negative 4 plus negative 8h. So my 8h's go away, and I'm left with negative 4 here on the left. My 8h's go away on the right, and I'm left with negative 4 again. Well, negative 4 is equal to negative 4, so I say all real numbers as my solution. Okay, now number 8, again, I see a change here I need to make. And so now it doesn't look like anything weird's going to happen. So I'm going to move my 12x over. So 12x plus negative 12x plus 18. 24x plus negative 40 plus negative 12x. Okay, so I take that 24 and I do plus negative 12. Because I've got opposites there, and I end up with 12x plus negative 40 equals, my 12x's go away on this side, and I'm left with 18. So now I move the negative 40 over, so 12x plus negative 40 plus 40 equals 18 plus 40, so 12x equals, and then I come to my calculator, 18 plus 40, I end up with 58. And then I divide both sides by 12, and x is equal to, and 58 divided by 12. Uh-oh, it gives me a really ugly answer. Okay, so 4 and 8.33333333. So when I run into a situation like that, all I'm going to do is take my 58 over 12 and simplify it. Okay, so we could use the fraction capabilities. Okay, or you can just divide by 2. So let's do 58 divided by, not 6, 58 divided by 2, I get 29. 12 divided by 2 will give me 6, and I leave 29 over 6 as my final answer. Or if you wanted to, you could simplify that to a mixed number, and you would end up with 4 and 5/6 as your answer. Okay, so if you get a repeating decimal, you have to give me the answer as a fraction. Okay, so that's kind of a strange thing, but that's what you do. Okay, and this 29 over 6 is perfectly fine. You don't have to simplify it any further. Okay, so now let's look at the rest of this test. So the rest of the test is reviewing Unit 1 and Unit 2 a little bit. Okay, so it says which list shows numbers in descending order. So we got to remember what descending means. We got two types of numbers, descending and ascending. Okay, and descending is going to be going downhill. Okay, so that means we're going from greatest to least. So automatically one of these I can eliminate, which is A, because it's going from negative to positive. So I know that's not going to be correct. Okay, now the next one, it's going from positive to negative, so that's good. The C is going from positive to negative, and D is going from positive to negative. So let's just kind of start going down the line. So 18 is good. So the square root of 21, I need to type that one in. So I do second x squared 21, and I find out that that's about 4.6. So I'm going to write 4.6 over it. And then I know 1/2 is 0.5, and then negative 4.82. So that one looks good. So let's just kind of look at C here just to see. Well, I know the square root of 9. If I were to type that in, square root of 9, I know that's going to be 3. And then if I type in 17 divided by 2, I know that that's 8.5. So I know that's already going in the wrong direction. Okay, now D here is 8.75. And if I were to type in square root of 50, I'd get 7.1 basically. And then I got 33 1/3%, which I know is 0.3 repeating. And then I've got 40.5. Well, 40.5 is the biggest out of all of those. So the only one that is correct is B. That's the one that's in descending order. Okay, number 10. Fred orders a set of numbers on his homework in ascending order. Okay, in ascending order. The first number is 5 1/3, and the last number is 5 1/2. Which of the following numbers is not on Fred's list? Well, I know 5 1/3 is 5.3 with a bar, and I know 5 1/2 is 5.5. So I'm looking for numbers that are between 0.3 and 0.5. Okay, so in order for it to fit, that's what it's got to be. Okay, so 5.34, well, 5.333333 and 5.5. So this one is in his list. 5.45 is in the list. Well, 5 and 5 12, so I need to come over here and do 5 divided by 12. And I find out that that's 5.4, blah, 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 blah. So that one's in the list. And if I do the square root of 25, I know that that is 5. And 5 is not found in between 5.3 and 5.5. So D is the correct answer here. All right, number 11. The surface area of the Earth is 5.101 times 10 to the 8th square kilometers. What is that number in standard form? Well, if you remember what I taught you about writing in standard form, is you're going to move, since this is a positive exponent, you're going to move the decimal to the right. And we're going to do it 8 places. So here's 1, 2, 3 places. Then I got to go 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means your number's going to be 5101, and then 5 extra zeros. So that number would actually be 510,100,000 kilometers. Okay, and then the last one says the set of irrational numbers includes all of the following except. Okay, so, well, we know pi is the most famous irrational, so that one is irrational. Okay, 0.445455555. Even though we see that there's a pattern, there's not a consistent pattern. It's not like 0.45454545. So if it's not consistent, that means this one's irrational. And then the last two we need to type in just to see. So I'm going to type in square root of 169 equals, and this one gives me a 13. And the square root of 124 gives me a really nice ugly number. And what is our sign of an irrational number? An ugly number that is has no pattern of repetition. Okay, so D is also irrational, so that means C is the only one that's not irrational. Okay, so that's kind of what I expect to see on the test tomorrow. Okay, your test is going to be very similar to this test review. These are the skills that you've got to be able to know in order to be successful in this test. Okay, so again, all you're looking at is solving equations, which is a skill, solving multi-step equations, and then answering a few multiple choice questions. Okay, so I wish you the best of luck on this test tomorrow. I hope you know what you're doing. If you've been doing your work, you do. So until next time, I'll talk to you later.